say that the sourcing phase, how you execute that, is going to be as unique as each one of your companies and your industries, and your execution tactics are going to be different depending on the nature of the situation. For instance, one of the things that you've got to ask yourself is, where are we going to find these companies with the characteristics we're looking for? All right? Okay, so I got all these criteria. It's like, well, where am I going to go find them? How am I going to connect with them? Okay, so that would be sourcing methods. Okay, how do I get there before other hungry buyers? But we're not operating in a vacuum here. Okay, it's a very active and competitive market out there for corporate control. Okay, so that would be a sourcing strategy. How do I position my company as the buyer of choice? All right, that would be a relationship development strategy. You got to think about that. Okay. How do I maximize the likelihood of spending time and effort on something that actually can get done? Well, that's deal triage. Okay. I want to spend a little bit more on deal triage on the rest of this page, and then on the next page, I want to talk a little bit more about how do I position my company as the buyer of choice. Okay. Really key questions. And again, this is probably something that corp dev is doing, but business unit executives are probably involved as well. But how do I maximize the likelihood of spending time on something that can actually get done? Well, okay, so I mentioned that at some point, your sourcing efforts probably going to be turfing up more opportunities than you can sign LOIs on and execute on. So you've got to figure out where's my time best spent. Well, the thing you got to think about there is you got to think about relative degree of difficulty. And that can take a lot of different forms. Like, is this going to be a hard deal to sell? You know, is it going to have an uncertain path? How big's the payoff? Okay, so risk versus return. Okay, so maybe it's got a huge payoff, but I have no idea how I'm going to be able to convince this seller to, or I'm going to get a deal on the table that they're actually going to like. Okay, could be valuation. It could be some capital structure concerns saying, hey, we can't do a deal that big right now. You know. So there's going to be some triage criteria that are going to be unique to your situation, unique to your company, and you need to know what those are so that you can figure out how can I be spending time on right now something that actually can get done rather than be wasting my time on something that's probably not going to happen. Okay. All right. So this is one of my favorite mantras. There's no substitute for consistently doing the right things over a long period of time. Okay? And that's what the sourcing phase is all about. Consistently doing the right things over a long period of time. When you do that, some really quality targets are going to come out of this effort. And frankly, that's very critical because the success of every later phase is directly proportional to the quality of the targets that come out of this process. If you got so-so targets, I'd have to say that you can do the greatest integration you want, but it's just going to be a so-so deal, and it's probably going to produce so-so results. Okay.